You know how everybody tells you that to get rid of the dad bod, you have to spend like hours and hours in the gym. Your life has to be all about like spending time in the kitchen and prepping meals, saying no to like everything that you love. It's a myth. This is a lie that's been sold to us by the fitness industry that has no idea what it's like to be a busy dad, a husband, and a professional with zero time. In this video, I'm going to show you how I built a body that I'm actually proud of, and I did it without living in the gym or giving up the foods that I love. So in this video, I'm going to show you how I built a body that I'm actually proud of, and it has nothing to do with living in the gym or giving up everything that you love. And this is the fix that nobody's talking about, because it isn't about buying more supplements or some super secret nutrition and diet hacks or some fancy exercise equipment. It's really just about changing the game. So stick around, because this conversation might just change everything for you. So a couple of years ago, I was the poster boy for the quote unquote dad bod. And I don't mean that in the, charming or funny way either. I was just tired all of the time. I got home from work and I would go up to my bedroom and crash on the bed and just zone out watching TV. I didn't even have the energy to spend time playing with the kids. I barely could hold a conversation with my fiance. And, my clothes were getting tighter all the time, especially around my stomach, my midsection area. And I felt so uncomfortable. And, I started to hide myself under hoodies and baggy shirts. I was wearing those all the time because I just felt ashamed and embarrassed about how I looked, and it was like the guy in the mirror that I saw looking back at me just looked defeated. I don't know how else to say it. I felt sluggish, I was puffy, and I just felt old. And the worst part is the frustration, and this is coming from me. I am a former fitness trainer and coach with 25 years experience in the health and fitness industry. And I knew the things that I needed to do as far as nutrition and exercise were concerned. And even though I had all that knowledge, it still wasn't enough to keep me from getting overweight and out of shape. I was so busy taking care of my clients and my family and putting everybody's needs before my own. It's like they came first and I kept putting myself last, thinking that I'd get in shape and start losing weight when I had the time, when everything settled down, and that just never happened. That is the big myth. I tried dragging myself into workouts at 5 a.m. in the morning. I gave up on that because I'd end up so burned out that I could barely think straight at work. Cutting carbs and low calorie diets and more protein, the ones where you basically cut out everything that you love, lose maybe a few pounds or so. But then what would happen is the weekend would come along and, I'd go out with my family and, I would justify having a cheat day because I worked so hard during the week, or I stuck to my diet, or I did all my workouts, and, that cheat day would turn into a cheat weekend, which would cause me to spiral out of control. And then before I knew it, I gained all the weight back. I felt like a total failure. And I started to believe that this was my new normal, that this is what being a dad in your 40s is supposed to feel like. You just trade your health for your family and your career. I didn't have 2 hours a day to spend working out at the gym. I couldn't spend all my free time prepping meals in the kitchen. And, I just couldn't fit my lifestyle into the quote unquote perfect plan. Great for 25-year-olds who have no families, no kids, and no responsibilities. But it's not good advice for a busy dad over 40 who's got a family and a career and is juggling all the stresses of life. My breaking point came a little over a year ago when I was finishing up my master's degree. Actually, I was working on my master's degree, but I kept telling myself that I would lose weight and get in shape when I finished my master's degree, which at the time was 9 months away. And I caught myself one day and kind of called myself out on my own BS, if you will. And, I started to think, like, what's really going to be different 9 months from now? Like, what's really going to change? And I started to think, why can't I start now? And that was my aha moment. I realized I was waiting for the right time to start, but that's really the big kind of lie that we all kind of fall for. It's so easy to fall into that trap of waiting for the right time. We wait for life to settle down. We wait for everything to be just kind of lined up, but the big kind of lie with that, or the thing that we get seduced into, it's we don't realize that life doesn't ever stay that way if it ever gets perfect, which it never really does. So instead of waiting for the right time, I decided that I had to make the time right. The real solution wasn't some secret exercise or some magical diet strategy. It was a complete shift in thinking. The big discovery was this: you don't need more time, you need better time management. You don't need more rules, you need a better strategy. I realized the fix was built on two things the hardcore fitness world seems to ignore. First, workouts that are minimal, high impact, and built for a busy dad with a busy life. And second, and this is the part that nobody ever talks about, is a set of mindset tools that does most of the heavy lifting for you so you don't have to. So let's just tear down the biggest myth right now. You don't have to spend an hour plus in the gym 5 or 6 days a week to get results. That is just not true. Your body doesn't know if you are in some fancy gym or if you're in your garage. But your body does know work and recovery. So the key is to give it the right kind of exercise in the shortest time possible. You can get incredible results in just 30 to 45 minutes, 3 or 4 times a week. So here's how to do it. First, you have to practice what I call time ruthlessness. So for me, I have big time commitments when it comes to work and family. So, I knew when I started this whole journey, I had to be absolutely ruthless with my time. And so, for me, the odds of me dragging myself to the gym after a day of work are slim to none. So I cut out the middleman and transformed my garage into my gym. And just by doing that, I stopped wasting 20 to 30 minutes driving to the gym and another 20 to 30 minutes coming back from the gym. And, I never have to wait around for somebody to finish using the equipment at the gym that I need. But it's not just about the commute. My training had to be incredibly time efficient as well. As a busy dad, your schedule is all over the place. You and I don't have 2 hours a day to spend working out at the gym. So instead of doing 4 or 5 different exercises for each major muscle group, which that could take all day in the gym, so instead of doing that, I focus on hitting each major muscle group with just 1 or 2 compound movements. So I'm talking squats, rows, and presses. By doing this, you create a huge metabolic effect, and you do that in a fraction of the time that it would take doing 4 or 5 other exercises. And you can do this with just a pair of dumbbells or your own body weight. Second is using something called progressive overload, which sounds complicated, but it's not. It really just means doing more than you did the last time. Guys in the gym turn this into a big ego trip about who can lift heavier. It's all about just lifting heavier and heavier. But for us, it's way simpler than that, and it's way safer than that. For example, did you do 8 push-ups last week? Oh, okay, great. Then this week, you're gonna do 9 or maybe 10. Did you use 20 pounds for squats last week? Okay, well, then this time let's do the same amount of repetitions, but let's try maybe 5 pounds heavier. So it's not like we're trying to do max lifts and do things that are gonna injure ourselves. We're just applying a little bit more either load or maybe some more repetitions than we did last time in order to challenge ourselves to make progress. In the end, it's all about making progress. It's about steady wins and stacking those wins from one workout to the next workout, because the more progress we make and the more wins we stack on top of each other, then the better results that we get. Third, and this is a total game changer, is mastering NEAT, N-E-A-T, which stands for non-exercise activity thermogenesis. And I'm telling you, this is your secret weapon for burning fat all day long without having to spend hours and hours doing cardio. So you can do this without even thinking about it. This is all about burning calories all day long just by doing the activities you already do for the most part of the day. For example, walking to the mailbox, walking to the office from your car, going out on the weekend and, playing a game of basketball with your kids, or, walking around going shopping with your wife. So instead of stressing out about finding 30 or 60 minutes to do cardio, you just focus on moving more throughout the day. So for example, when you have a call at work, you can take a walk while you're on the call, park at the far end of the parking lot and walk a longer distance to work, taking the stairs instead of the elevator. Like, these are simple habits that can completely change the results that you get you leaner, faster, and completely change your health in the process. So a week could look like this. Monday, Wednesday, Friday, you could do like 30 to 45 minute full body workouts, or you could do the same time but split your workouts into upper body and lower body days. And then on your off days, you can do just 20-minute walk either after dinner, with your wife or your kids, or you can just walk the dog. And then you can accumulate activity, like I mentioned before, throughout the day. Like, that's it. It really is that simple. And this is something you can actually stick with, and it works. This is the one thing that will make or break you more than any workout or diet strategy that you have. You can have the best workout and nutrition plan on the planet, but if your head isn't in the right space, you'll eventually give up. The fitness industry, they are great at selling you workouts, but what they don't sell you is the mindset tools that you need to make sure that you actually do them and you stick with them. So we're gonna fix that right now. So the first and the most important mindset shift is consistency over perfection. And you have to live by this. That all or nothing voice in your head is a trap. That's the voice that says, well, all right, I missed my workout on Monday, so I'm gonna skip this whole week and just say F it, and I'm gonna do what I want, and then I'll start over again next week. You have to kill that voice, because a workout that is just kind of good enough isn't great, but it's good enough is always going to be a million times better than trying to do the perfect workout that you only do once in a while. You don't have to be perfect. You have to be consistent. You only have 15 minutes today? Awesome. Do a 15-minute workout. Don't blow it off because you don't have 30 or 45 minutes. Even a 15-minute workout is better than no workout. 15 minutes is a win. Wins happen when you're consistent, and when you're consistent, you build momentum, and it's momentum that drives results. Second mindset shift is you have to change your identity. And this is something that took me a long time to understand. And because of that, I struggled for many, many years, because I kept seeing myself as the guy who was trying to lose fat, the guy who was trying to get in shape. And it always kept me stuck and struggling and frustrated, because I couldn't stick with things, because I didn't shift my identity. That kind of an identity and that kind of a mindset, seeing yourself in that way, it's a negative, and it will pull you and drag you down every single time. So instead of seeing yourself that way, you need to create an identity that's built around the guy that you want to become. For me, I created an identity that I call the man of steel. And that identity is wrapped around a guy who, it's not a guy who's trying to get fit, who's trying to get lean, who's trying to get in shape. It's a guy who is a strong, powerful, successful dad. It's like a guy who is confident and, can do it all. That's the identity that I've created. I've wrapped around this man of steel mindset. Now, if you don't have an identity that you've created, another way that you can do this is to think about somebody who has the ideal kind of physique that you want. And you start to imagine, like, what are the types of habits that this person had to adopt to create that physique? What are the things that this person does every single day that got them that body? Would this person grab the pizza or the beer, or would they grab the dumbbells and start working out? Like, would they take the elevator or would they take the stairs? So when your actions align with the identity that you're shifting toward or that you're trying to create, that's when changes start to happen. You will start to adopt new behaviors, and behaviors become habits over time. And those behaviors that become habits are the things that lead to the results that you want. This isn't about willpower. This isn't about like needing more motivation or needing a bigger why or setting bigger goals. This is about seeing yourself as the person you most want to be. The third mindset shift is to be flexible and forgive yourself, because look, life happens. There are going to be times when one of your kids gets sick, or you get called into a meeting out of nowhere, or a project deadline comes up, at the last minute. These are things that every now and then are going to happen. And, that means that at times you might miss a workout, but it's not the end of the world. And it doesn't mean that you failed. Old you would use that as an excuse to give up and quit. But the new you just kind of sees it for what it is. Like, it just happens. It's part of life, and you move on. But when these things happen every now and then, you don't think of yourself as a failure. Don't criticize yourself for it. You recognize it for what it is. It happens. It's part of life. You get back on track and you move on. Finally, the last mindset shift is shifting from focusing on the outcome to focusing on the process. Now, that's not to say that you shouldn't have goals or you shouldn't want specific goals. You absolutely should. Goals are great things to have. So if you weigh yourself 1 week and your weight is up and it's not where you wanted it to be, again, it doesn't mean that you failed. And you don't want to obsess over that because, oh my God, my weight's up. I did everything wrong. Now I've got to change my diet, my workout, and kind of get into the mind trap and play head games with yourself. Instead, focus on the wins that you had. For example, did you hit all of your workouts during the week? Did you get them all in? Did you get stronger on most of your exercises during your workouts? Were you consistent with your nutrition? How was your sleep? Was your sleep good during the week? Did you have good energy? These are all things that are wins in our book. And again, the more of these wins that you can stack up, the more over time, the results on the scale are going to go the way you want them to go. Maybe it doesn't happen for a week here and there, or it's not what you think it should be. It doesn't mean that you're not making progress and getting closer to getting the results that you want. You just have to look at more than one kind of measure of progress. So instead of just looking at the scale, look at all of the other wins that you've stacked up during the week. I stopped trying to chase some unrealistic goals, setting goals that were, so far out of reach, and trying to force my life to fit into some fitness plan that really didn't work for a guy like me who's busy with work and with family and has a lot of things going on. And instead, I found a way to build a fitness plan that fit my life. And that was the big game changer. That's when everything shifted. I've lost over 30 pounds. I've gained more muscle. I've gotten stronger. I have more energy. I have more confidence. And I've built a body that I'm proud of. I'm not where I want to be yet. I'm not shredded. I don't have 6-pack abs yet, but I'm on my way. I am so much closer to that goal than I was. And most importantly, I found a way to create a system or a plan that I can actually stick with. So I'm not just a healthier version of myself. That's one part of it, but I'm also a better partner to Cheryl. I'm a better father to our kids, and I'm a better person overall. And that's the real prize when you get down to it. Like, looking good on the beach, and with your shirt off, like that's one thing. That's great and everything. But being present and able to play with your kids and have a better relationship with your wife, dude, that's the real prize. That is the real win of all of this. The bottom line is, the story that you've been told about that in order to get in shape and to get fit, that you have to sacrifice all of your free time. You have to sacrifice your work, your family, and your happiness and everything that you love in order to get in shape and get rid of the dad bod. It's just a myth. The real fix isn't about, punishment, having to go through grueling workouts and spend 5-6 days killing yourself in the gym and starving yourself and doing fasting or not being able to eat carbs or, really cutting your calories to the point where you're miserable all the time or taking all these different supplements and magic quote unquote pills, right? It's not about any of that stuff. It's about having a smart, simple, sustainable plan and a stronger mindset. It's about building a lifestyle where your health and your family actually support each other rather than fighting for your time. So here's my challenge to you. So just pick one thing this week. Don't try to change everything at once. Just take one small step. And that could mean that you go for a 20-minute walk, or you do one set of push-ups and challenge yourself until you can't do any more, or swap a soda for a glass of water, eat a healthy meal instead of something that's unhealthy. Just stack up the small wins, create one small win to start with. And, it's those small wins that are what lead to the big changes over time. So if this video was helpful, do me a favor and hit the like button and subscribe to this channel for more no-nonsense fitness advice for busy dads. And let me know in the comments, what is the biggest thing that's holding you back right now? The single biggest thing. And let's talk about it. In the meantime, take that one step, decide what it is and take that step, or you can watch one of these videos.